of the day. How would I feel if I was a parent of a child that's being stabbed in South London, or if I was in a high tower block cladding which could go off at any minute? I'd be asking about important issues, not something that is largely petty point scoring within Westminster. Just look at your mailbag on this show. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about it.
That's not entirely true. There are quite a few people who care, and I often wonder whether or not our digital mailbag is actually reflective of the nation as a whole. If it is, totally dodging the question. One of the main reasons the public aren't talking about this, says Mike, is the public believe politicians think the public are stupid plebs and can't see the sleaze going on. Julie's in Leicester. She says Starmer is spot on. He's not asking about furnishings, he's asking about integrity. Best performance since Starmer started as the leader of the Labour Party. Your question will have triggered the Corbynistas now. So, as I say, the majority of people, if our poll, according to the number of people who got in touch with us this morning, has anything to go by, the majority of you think it's a waste of time, but there are others who say, yes, we should pursue this because it's about integrity, not wallpaper. I'll be back at 4 tomorrow. James O'Brien's at 10. Next, though, breakfast with Nick Ferrari.
Ian, thank you. At 7 o'clock on Thursday, April the 29th, a paper trail over the wallpaper gate rattles Boris Johnson.
Week after week, the people of this country can see the difference between a Labour Party that twists and turns with the wind, whereas this party gets on with delivering on the people's priorities.
In other news, double jab offers protection, but stick to the rules, says a very buoyant JVT.
If two people who've both had 2 doses of vaccine, then I would be highly confident it would be incredibly safe for those 2 people to meet.
An LBC exclusive.
A staggering half of adult women say they've been woken up by their partner having sex with them while asleep. LBC's Rachel Venables with the story.
Plus, the PCSO murdered walking her dog in the woods in Kent. Those stories and more after the 7 o'clock news.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 7 o'clock, Joe Biden says America is on the move again after claiming he inherited a nation in crisis 100 days ago. In his first address to a joint session of Congress, the US president hailed the success of the COVID vaccination program under his administration.
Everyone over the age of 16, everyone is now eligible to get vaccinated right now, right away. Go get vaccinated, America. Go and get the vaccination.
The president also urged politicians to back a $1.8 trillion investment in children, families and education. The package would fundamentally transform the government's role in American life, but it faces strong Republican opposition. The Conservative Party says it will continue to work constructively with the Electoral Commission. The watchdog has begun a formal investigation into the funding of renovation works at Boris Johnson's Downing Street flat. The Prime Minister's insisted he hadn't broken any laws and personally paid for the refurbishment. He's refused to answer whether he received an initial loan from the Tory party. The race to succeed Arlene Foster as the leader of the Democratic Unionist Party and Northern Ireland First Minister is underway. She announced yesterday she'll stand down in the coming weeks following a revolt in her party against her leadership. Our correspondent in Belfast, Amanda Ferguson, says the DUP may regret its decision.
Post of First Minister is a joint office. A new First Minister can't be elected without Sinn Féin's support, and I'm sure they're going to come with a list of demands around implementing previously agreed agreements around things like Irish language legislation and other matters.
It's claimed the majority of students think it should be compulsory to pass a sexual consent assessment before university. Research found 58% backed the idea of having to complete a test to show they fully understand the concept. Almost 100 British universities have been named on a website where students have been anonymously sharing their experiences of harassment and abuse. Uber has revealed plans to recruit another 20,000 drivers in the UK by the end of the year. The ride-hailing firm says demand is beginning to ramp up as people are now allowed to go to pubs and restaurants. Manchester City have taken a big step towards the final of the Champions League. They came from behind to beat Paris Saint-Germain 2-1 in the first leg of their semi-final in the French capital last night. In the city, the FTSE 100 will reopen at 69.63 after closing up 18 points. Yesterday, the pound buys $1.39 and €1.15. And the weather chilly with a mixture of sunny spells and showers for most. Some wintry weather on northern hills. Mostly dry in the southeast, a high of 12 degrees. From Global's newsroom, I'm Simon Conley.
In Yorkshire, when we say that'll do, it means it'll more than do. Finding a fiver in the street? That'll do. The sun coming out on your day off? That'll do. Getting great value, award-winning fibre broadband for only £22.99 a month for 18 months with a £50 reward card? That will most definitely do. Search PlusNet Fibre now. Offer ends 12th of May. CPI plus 3.9% increase in June 2021, then each March from 2022. New customers only. Reward calculated by email within 2 months. Terms apply.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Good morning, 3 minutes after 7 on Thursday, April the 29th, and our focus swings back on Boris Johnson. This £58,000 makeover. If you thought it was going away, far from it. The inquiry on the way. Flatgate, wallpaper gate, whatever you want to call it, it's not going away. More on that in just a moment. A little under a year ago, people were able to dismantle a statue, roll it down the road and throw it in the harbour, and police took no action. Rather different in London with a Christian pastor in Uxbridge.
They're arresting the man. They're arresting him.
His crime was to read from the Bible. He's a pastor in his 70s. He was detained overnight. We'll look at that in more detail. As JVT, Jonathan Van Tam, says, it's incredibly safe for two vaccinated people to meet freely. Why can't we? And also that plays into our continuing crusade to try and allow you, if your lives have been touched by fatalities, by deaths, of course, to attend a funeral. Sadly, there will be a funeral after a PCSO was murdered in the woods.
The death of a PCSO whose body was found in woods is being treated as murder. I'm LBC's Alex Stevanovic in Snowdown, Kent.
Plus 10 years since the happy day, William and Kate, otherwise of course the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, celebrated their love by getting wed. We'll look back on the happy day.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
If there was a sense that the news caravan or agenda was moving on yesterday from Flatgate, Wallpapergate, whatever you want to call it, it's a very different feel this morning. As it is revealed, of course, there will now be an official inquiry. Boris Johnson and Carrie could have to hand over personal emails to the official inquiry. A fairly hefty fine could be on the way. And Boris Johnson could, and there is a could here, be the first Prime Minister to be interviewed under caution. Background, LBC's political editor Theo Usher. Theo.
The Electoral Commission announced yesterday and launched a formal investigation into whether undeclared Tory donations had covered the initial cost of the £100,000 renovation of the Downing Street flat. Keir Starmer, for him it was a political gift, as that announcement came just before the Prime Minister's questions.
Either the taxpayer paid the initial invoice, or it was the Conservative Party, or it was a private donor, or it was the Prime Minister. So I'm making it easy for the Prime Minister. It's now multiple choice. There are only 4 options. It should be easier than finding the chatty rat, Mr. Speaker.
But the Prime Minister couldn't answer that question, only repeating what he had insisted previously, that he had now covered the cost of the refurbishments.
Mr. Speaker, I've given him the answer, and the answer is I have covered the costs, and I think most people will find it absolutely bizarre. And of course, there's an electoral commission investigating this, and I can tell him that I've conformed in full with the code of conduct, with ministerial code, and officials have been have been advising me throughout this whole thing.
Now, you'll remember in a blog last week, the PM's former advisor, Dominic Cummings, said the refurbishment was unethical and possibly illegal, and he is happy to cooperate with the inquiry. In the House of Commons, the Labour leader pressed on.
And that under the law, any donation of over £500 to a political party must be registered and declared. So the rules are very clear. The Electoral Commission
acts or offences may have occurred. That's incredibly serious.
And that's when the exchanges turned ugly.
He has half an hour every week to put serious and sensible questions to me about the state of the pandemic, about the vaccine rollout, about what we're doing to support our NHS, about what we're doing to fight crime, about what we're doing to bounce back from this pandemic, about the economic recovery, about jobs for the people of this country. And he goes on and on, Mr. Speaker, about wallpaper when, as I've told him umpteen times now, I pay for it.
The Health Secretary was repeatedly asked, Matt Hancock was repeatedly asked later in the Downing Street press conference about the flat and who had paid for it, and he steadfastly refused to answer.
Well, thanks very much. I know that the Prime Minister answered lots of questions about this in the House of Commons earlier, and given that this is a coronavirus press conference, you won't be surprised that I'm not going to add to the answers the Prime Minister's already given to very extensive questioning. Thanks. So I'll answer the first question and then ask JVT to answer the second question. And I think we'll give the third one a miss. Thanks. Well, on the last one, the point of the press conference is the incredibly important progress that we're making about coronavirus, which is without doubt the most important thing facing the country.
Matt Hancock concluding Theo Usherwood's report. So Theo, you're not going to thank me for this question. Where do you imagine this goes next?
Well, firstly, we've got the investigation.
How long does that typically take?
They can take anywhere between a couple of months, but then of course they can drag on quite significantly for a year or so.
Boris Johnson.
So of course number 10 would hope that it would drag on significantly. Crucially, in the short term, we've got Dominic Cummings coming to the House of Commons on May the 26th. That's box office, get the popcorn, sit yourself down with a cup of tea and watch it, and that will be crucial. But for Boris Johnson now, it is turning serious, and as you pointed out, Nick, there is a chance he could be interviewed under caution. Other sanctions, of course, at the disposal of the Electoral Commission include significant fines of up to £20,000.
But just lastly, before we get some other expert comment in, Theo, this now, of course, will allow every minister, I have one later this morning, when asked about this, to say, well, it's the subject of an investigation, it's like a police officer, I can't possibly say anything.
Absolutely, and that's the point also the point that Matt Hancock was making yesterday was that the Prime Minister answered the question, investigation now, time to move on and talk about other things.
All right, Theo Usherwood reporting, thank you. We'll turn to former media advisor to Theresa May. How does a Prime Minister try and get out from under this scandal? Joey Jones in a moment. First, though, 10 after 7, let's bring Kevin Maguire, Associate Editor and columnist for the Daily Mirror, also columnist for the New Statesman, into the conversation. Well, I know you're no signed-up fan to Boris Johnson. How much trouble do you think he's in, Kevin? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nick. I think he's in very deep trouble. There is wall-to-wall coverage in the newspapers today. It's a lead story in the Financial Times, Mail, Times, Guardian, Metro, Daily Star, right to left there. You saw yesterday that the Labour leader Keir Starmer got under his skin, or maybe under his wallpaper on this occasion, and that triggering that red-faced, eye-bulging, sort of hysterical ranting and raving. That wasn't passion. I've seen passion from Boris Johnson many times. That was the bellowing of a wounded beast who knows that he is in trouble. And often in politics, it isn't the initial crime, or the alleged crime, should we say here, it is the cover-up.
And what would he be most nervous of, Kevin?
I think the email trail, that it's quite clear that the redecorations at 88,000, it looks like 30,000 paid by us, the taxpayers, the other 58,000 paid initially by a Tory donor and not registered, which is against the law. Dominic Cummings, who isn't the most sympathetic of characters, because most of us distrust him after that Barnard Castle eyesight drive at the height of the first phase of the pandemic, but nevertheless he was incredibly close to the Prime Minister. They were very, very tight at one time. He said the proposals on the flat, getting somebody else to pay for it, not declaring that would be foolish, unethical, probably illegal, and certainly breaking the law on disclosure. I think the Prime Minister knows when the facts come out that it's not going to look good for us. It's not really the nature of his lamps or his sofa. It's the fact that if you get somebody else to pay for all that, you become beholden to them, and what favours would they want in the future?
And lastly, Kevin, how confident are you this story has now made the journey out of Westminster? It is now resonating in Redcar and elsewhere.
Hard where there was a by-election. I think it's beginning to, and we saw with John Major in the 1990s, these allegations, it's not the first, it's not the second, it's cumulative. And yes, people are more concerned about getting vaccinated, getting had to. But nobody likes to think a politician is taking advantage of their position for themselves and showing some disregard for other people, almost contempt. Boris Johnson said people don't care. I don't think that's true anymore. I think people are beginning to care. The more you say people don't care, the more they will care.
Kevin, always speaking of Kevin Maguire, thank you, Associate Editor, columnist with the Daily Mirror and also columnist with the New Statesman, 13 after 7. Now let's bring Joey Jones into the conversation, uniquely placed really. Joey was Senior Political Editor at Sky News, former media advisor to Theresa May, now Senior Counsel at the PR firm Graylings, and let's get to what your counsel would be to Boris Johnson. I sense you'd have liked to get to the story earlier, Joey, and given him advice, but where he finds himself now, what does he do? Good morning.
Morning, Nick. Well, to be honest, as you say, yes, I think the problem with this issue is that it was a crazy idea from the start. So somebody should have said to Boris Johnson that if there was going to be a bill, as you say, of £88,000, he couldn't just expect everybody but the Prime Minister to delve down the back of their sofa and find that money. He would have to take responsibility for it. But we are where we are. And I think that right now, I'm sure that the Prime Minister's own media advisors recognise, they must know in their heart of hearts that, you know, the facts are going to come out, and it's much better for them to try to control the narrative and to begin to be more transparent, particularly when, you know, Dominic Cummings is going to do it for them anyway if they don't get some of the facts out and try to get ahead of it. And I suspect that the only reason that they're not doing that is because of the Prime Minister's own sort of boneheaded stubbornness, if you like, that he just thinks that he can stick his fingers in his ears and hope that it's all going to go away.
They can't wrestle this back now, isn't it? The horse has bolted, hasn't it?
It feels really ugly, and I think the problem is that even if whether or not it's cutting through in the Hartlepool by-election, and the reality is, I think that, you know, the election results are probably going to be worse for Labour than for the Conservatives, so the Prime Minister will have something to consult himself there. But the problem is that the state of Downing Street at the moment, you could see from his demeanour yesterday that he's very rattled, he's under enormous pressure, and I think a lot of that is because he knows that there are people, not just former advisors, but current advisors, who plainly don't feel loyal towards him at the moment, and he's looking around and he doesn't know who to trust. And in that sort of environment, and of course, you know, there are other people bound into this affair who will themselves have been feeling that their own reputations are on the line, and they need Boris Johnson to stand up through this whole affair. And I'm sure they too will have been very worried by what they saw at the dispatch box yesterday.
I suppose lastly briefly, Joey, it emboldens other, doesn't it? If they see the people having a go at the boss and no action being taken, and in fact the pressure continues to grow, then, well, I think I'll step up and I'll have a go at the boss. That's sort of cumulative sense in a way, isn't it?
I think it's also because they worry, I mean, there are factions basically, and they worry that they have seen in the past that Boris Johnson hasn't necessarily, Boris Johnson did stick up for Dominic Cummings for a long time under pressure, but he hasn't always shown that same level of loyalty to his own employees, and I think that in that context there's a sort of an issue of what goes around comes around.
Joey, always good speaking with you. Thank you, Joey Jones, former Sky News political reporter, media advisor to Theresa May, now senior counsel at the PR firm Grayling. So who's right? Boris Johnson, when he says it's more important that we get people back to work, get vaccinated and possibly start travelling again, or the leader of the opposition and others who say it's actually quite important to know if anything inappropriate has gone on as regards spending? At number 10, your views as it's back full front news agenda, absolutely. Plus, coming up after the news, a shocking LBC exclusive that you will want to hear. Dr. Jessica Taylor from Victim Focus.
1 in 2 women reported that they had woken up to their partner having sex with them, so penetrative sex, or performing sex acts on them, so sexual assault.
Yes, you did hear that correctly, and that's more after the 7:16 LBC News headlines with Simon Conway.
Joe Biden has told Congress that America is on the move again after claiming he inherited a nation in crisis 100 days ago. The Labour leader is again urging the Prime Minister to reveal whether he received a loan for the refurbishment of his Downing Street flat. It's claimed the majority of students think it should be compulsory to pass a sexual consent assessment before university. The weather cool with a mixture of sunshine and showers, high of 12
about 15 minutes to the Stamford-le-Hope turn-off because of the ongoing works. And very busy on the North Circular Road westbound from the A10 at Edmonton to Palmer's Green.
This is LBC.
Sarah's smiling because Jack the florist is open with her favourite flowers again. Jack's smiling because he's back selling flowers again. Robin's smiling because Jack's back at the wholesalers buying flowers again. All along the high street there are smiles behind masks because business is looking up again. And if you're looking to upgrade your van or pickup, now's the time to do it. Take advantage of a £1,000 upgrade saving, 0% APR representative finance and 3 months deferred payment on Ford Acquire. It's 3 promotions in one and it runs until the 30th of June. We're with you on this journey. Ford Commercial Vehicles. Search Backbone of Britain.
Model exclusions and deposit restrictions may apply. Free post-war credit.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Everyone can now get free rapid COVID-19 tests twice a week. They show your results within 30 minutes. They also show you're doing what you can to protect your loved ones, your friends, your workmates, and that you want to keep life moving again. Around 1 in 3 people who have COVID-19 have no symptoms and are spreading it without knowing. That could be a friend, a relative, a workmate. It could even be you. Rapid tests are easy to get from nhs.uk/get tested. Let's take this next step safely.
If you or someone you know owned or leased a diesel vehicle between 2007 and 2020, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Millions of drivers have been misled by numerous manufacturers about emissions, and hundreds of thousands have already filed a claim. It's easy to see if you're eligible. Simply visit our site now and check your vehicle instantly. It's completely free to sign up, and you can start your claim in seconds. Text DIESEL to 80818 or visit mydieselclaim.com and join thousands of others starting their claims today.
They say the more you put in, the more you get out. But while it's true of learning how to play the saxophone, it's not true of the all-new Hyundai i20. Advanced safety features, amazing connectivity, great new design, and it's a mild hybrid. And with additional savings at the Hyundai Hybrid event, this time when you put less in, you get more out. The all-new Hyundai i20. Ready to impress. Offer ends 30th of June. Saving against list price. T&Cs apply. Guarantee may be required. Hyundai Finance.
This is the sound of business owners bossing their day with Sage. Fish delivery, bossed. Invoices, sorted.
Clients work out, boss. Expenses smashed.
Tax return done.
Take control of business with new financial tools from Sage. Boss it. Try for free at sage.com. Terms and conditions apply.
It's time to get your business back on track. At Total Jobs, we've been helping our customers hire the people they need for over 20 years. That's why they rate us excellent on Trustpilot. So if you're looking to grow your team, do it with a team you can trust. Total Jobs. Advertise today at totaljobs.com/hire.
Welcome to the Ogmeo School of Zen Motoring. Drivers and riders, watch out for our fellow travelers on life's road. It's hard to know what's going to happen, unless you're telepathic. Mr. Hatchback's making a right turn, but has he seen that moped? Oh, he has. Nice. Moped's not taking any chances. He's slowing down. Cool like a cucumber.
without waking up, try to make my body language clear that this isn't something that I want in my sleep.
She said it was really hard to accept the reality of what was happening to her, the fact that this was illegal, even though she told him time and time again she didn't want it, she didn't consent.
At one point he said to me, where you're reacting to me doing what I'm doing, is making me feel like a rapist. And I was like, oh no, of course you're not, because that's how, that's the response you're supposed to have. But I guess in my brain I had actually thought, okay, but actually you are.
Dr. Taylor told me when she started looking into this issue for the study, she would get shocked and angry messages from men who didn't realise the seriousness of what they'd been doing.
Some men saying, I do this all the time, like, why are you making out that this is an offence when it's not an offence? She probably really enjoys it. But I also had contact from men saying, I've done this loads of times to my wife and my girlfriend. Are you saying that that's a sexual assault and that I shouldn't have been doing it?
She says in order to tackle the problem, we need to accept how many men are obviously carrying out these acts and why.
The most obvious thing would be power and control. It's like a sense of entitlement. They're in a relationship with you, they've been in that relationship for a long time, you're asleep, they want you, so they take it. There is a lot of porn out there around women who are asleep. Absolutely, it's very easy to find. It's like free porn websites. What if it has become a bit of almost like a fetish, almost like a violent sort of fantasy?
We've put this really important story up on our website this morning with a link for support for anybody listening who thinks that they need that.
Rachel, and also that exclusive, Rachel, thank you. Calls already coming in on this, and we can obviously change your name and your location, and I think I won't say your first name, but we check whether I can use this young woman's name. We know that it is okay. Well, we're going to put you head on, so we're going to be talking about that after the news. Also, coming up, we'll return to the row concerning Boris Johnson and this makeover of his apartment. And then later in the show, arrested for quoting the Bible, a preacher aged 71.
They're arresting the gay man. They're arresting him.
71-year-old preacher or pastor detained overnight in a police cell. More later in the show. 7:30. This is Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LBC. Time for the news with Simon Conway.
The US President Joe Biden has hailed the success of America's COVID vaccination program in his first address to a joint session of Congress. He said that all over 16s are now eligible for a jab and that his country is on the move as it emerges from the pandemic. The Conservative Party says it will continue to work constructively with the Electoral Commission. The watchdog has announced it's investigating the funding of restoration work at Boris Johnson's Downing Street flat. Arlene Foster is due to return to Stormont Executive Business later after announcing she will resign as DUP leader and First Minister of Northern Ireland. There's speculation that the twin roles she currently occupies could be split. And the weather chilly with a mixture of sunny spells and showers for most, some wintry weather on northern hills, mostly dry in the southeast, a high of 12 degrees.
Eddie Mayer on LBC. You're inclined to believe Boris Johnson with his record of lying than 3 people who say they had it. To have 3 people inside Downing Street, by the way, this is not passers-by, this is over here in a market or in a public loo, and in the heart of Downing Street, and they say that Boris Johnson said no more lockdowns, let the bodies pile up in their thousands. You immediately go to giant media conspiracy. Eddie Mayer, this afternoon from 4, listen on Global Player, LBC.
Everyone can now get free rapid COVID-19 tests twice a week. They show your results within 30 minutes. They also show you're doing what you can to protect your loved ones, your friends, your workmates, and that you want to keep life moving again. Around 1 in 3 people who have COVID-19 have no symptoms and are spreading it without knowing. That could be a friend, a relative, a workmate. It could even be you. Rapid tests are easy to get from nhs.uk/get tested. Let's take this next step safely.
Right. Where'd you keep your biscuits then?
Oh, they're just there. In the cupboard with the big ugly scratch down the front. And the wonky handle under the one with the missing door.
Kitchen causing you a little house embarrassment? At Wix, we'll create your dream kitchen from design to show-off ready. Our kitchen showrooms are open and we're taking bookings for our free design service. To see our latest sale offers and to book your free kitchen design appointment, visit us in-store or at wix.co.uk.
At Vodafone, we understand the power of connections, like those children making wanted smartphones and tablets. Search Vodafone Tech Appeal today and help a child connect and learn. Vodafone. Together we can. For info and terms, visit vodafone.co.uk/techappeal.
From moving home to watching your kids leave home. From leaving a business to starting your own. Change isn't always easy, but switching to a Volvo plug-in hybrid is. Because with every purchase across the Volvo plug-in hybrid range, we are offering a complimentary home charge point with installation worth £899. And all you have to do is plug it in. Contact your local Volvo retailer to find out more.
Free New Motion Home Fast Package, normally priced at £549, inclusive of the electric vehicle home charge scheme grant of up to £350, including VAT. Participating retailers, valid up to the 30th of June 2021. T's and C's apply. Visit volvocars.co.uk.
Whether you're dreaming of a house the size of a football stadium or a football stadium in the back garden of your house, what you need is dream come true money. Luckily, in Friday's Euro Millions, there's 10 UK millionaires guaranteed. Now that's dream come true money. Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Play on app, online and in-store. Account terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
For many of us, future plans don't come much bigger than moving home. That's why at the Halifax, we want to make sure nothing gets in your way. So if you're unable to visit us in branch for a mortgage appointment face-to-face, we're more than happy to come to you. Every week, our colleagues are doing over 3,000 mortgage appointments by phone and video call, so we can keep your moving plans moving along. Halifax, it's a people thing.
You're probably not thinking of changing your cleaning contractor, but if we could offer your workplace a deep clean that comes with a decontamination certificate as standard, I bet you would. Well, now we do. Ice Cleaning can clean your workplace with electrostatic spray technology. Each month we'll issue you a decontamination certificate stating that our surface protection helps protect your surfaces for up to 28 days. For full details, visit ice-cleaning.com, the UK's cleaning experts.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
7:36 is the time. Helen will be talking to you about that extraordinary LBC exclusive in just a moment. Let's get into the world of business and finance with David Buick from Aquis Exchange. And I know retailers like to refer to them as being pre-loved, I think it is. We know them as second-hand or used. And one supermarket chain is going to be doing that with some clothing. David, good morning.
Good morning, Susan. Yes. Asda, quite extraordinary. George, they've got 632 branches. Asda recently bought for £6.8 billion, as we know by the Issa brothers. And I've found this an extraordinary thing. But anyway, they've got on 50 of their shops George-styled branding. Second-hand clothes will be on sale. People are being encouraged to bring their goods and chattels of very good nick round to the stores because there is apparently a growing market on this. And it's, absolutely delightful to see it. I can't see me finding anything
Not me. I don't think it's coming our size in terms of
I don't think so.
Well, good luck to the younger and thinner and fitter ones we wish them well. Should we dive into the banking sector? What figures we're hearing?
I'd like to do this, Nick, for the simple reason that easily the worst performing sector for the last decade has been the banks. In fact, their performance has been appalling ever since the banking crisis, and then exacerbated by the PPR, which cost over £50 billion. Anyway, they seem to be rising like the phoenix from the ashes. And we had HSBC posting numbers on Tuesday. Profits of £4.6 billion, up 79%. Shares are up 22% since the beginning of the year. Lloyds yesterday, profits were up from 74 million, a derisory impulse of managers amount last year, 1.39 billion this time. Also the largest mortgage lender, adding 6 billion to their mortgage book, of which 4 were new first-time buyers, which was great. Shares are up 22%. And then we have NatWest this morning, a big improvement from a very low base. Profits of 948 million, income up 8%. CET1 capital 18.2%, means doing really well. The impairment charges were low at 102 million. What was interesting is that their shares are up 29% at 205p. Break even for the taxpayer, 503p. So we're a long way away.
All right, we'll talk again in the early hours of tomorrow morning, David Buick. Thank you.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
My thanks to Helen in North London, who's been hanging on the line to comment on this LBC exclusive. A little over half of adult women say they've woken up to their partner having sex with them or performing some act. Helen, thank you. What happened to you? Good morning.
Hi, Nick. I just want to say a huge thank you for bringing this up, because this has happened to me on multiple occasions throughout my marriage, and I've never ever been able to discuss it with anyone. Right. And I felt stupid. I felt dirty. And I've never understood how one can be asleep and get that far. And,
you're not still married to the person now?
I'm separated.
You're just separated, okay, so you're going through a divorce as well?
I haven't done anything. We just separated.
Do you mind my asking
a long time, a few years ago.
How long were you married?
22 years.
22 years, okay. And how frequent was it?
It wasn't every week, but it was quite frequent, and I just felt so bad. Like, how can I be asleep? How can I? It makes me feel like something wrong with me, and then later, now I feel angry.
Of course you do. Did you challenge him at the time?
I didn't, not really. I mean, yeah, I used to say, how, why would we be doing that? Never got an answer, never got an answer. It was just always no comment. There was nothing said. Used to just walk out the door, and I just never had anyone to turn to talk to be honest.
If you stay on the line, we've got phone numbers of people who can help you. How long into your marriage was it before this first started happening?
About 5 years.
How would you describe your marriage up till then?